Alright, we are doing a weekly analysis for the upcoming week of February 24th to February 28th. And first thing we want to look at is this huge drop off, and that's what the biggest thing that we can notice here. Now, what you want to do when you see this move is you want to look at what happened with the price beforehand. So one thing we see, we're looking at the hourly chart on the NASDAQ, we see that we purged Thursday's high. This is Wednesday's high actually. We took that was on Friday, we purged it, and then we started heading lower, so that could be seen as a turtle soup. And if we compare it to the ES, we actually end up having an SMT right here. So this right here was an SMT with ES, so this is ES right here. If we look at Wednesday, I don't know why. So if we look here, we never took the high. So that's one reason I'm going to be bearish for next week. And the other reason is if we go to the 4L, we go to the daily chart, we have an all-time high SMT. So this is NQ, and this is ES, where we have price has taken all-time highs this week. Now I want to see if you see here, we have all this trendline liquidity. All of this is resting. So we have all this liquidity eventually leading down here. This is all liquidity on the ES. I want to see a close on the daily chart below one of these lows to confirm a market structure shift, and we have the same thing here. All this sell side liquidity lined up. It's all going to be a catalyst for why we're going to move the way we do next week. And we can also look at news. So we see we don't have any news until Wednesday, so we don't expect Monday to be we don't expect Monday to be a good trading day in terms of price action. It can still move, but I'm not likely to take a trade on that unless I see an A+ setup. Usually we see consolidation. Now we can look at what happened last week. So let's go to the 1 hour chart. Last week on Monday, so this is Monday right here, we had, let's see, so here's Monday, and we closed at 1 o'clock, and we see we had accumulation. Now we know Tuesday is highly probable for being the high or low of the week, and same with Wednesday, because we will see Monday generally be accumulation. We're talking about in terms of the power of 3 for the weekly. We have accumulation, manipulation, which is usually Tuesday or Wednesday, and then distribution, which is usually Thursday or Friday, and we can have a continuation on Friday usually. So if we were going to be bearish for this week, which is what ended up happening, we saw the Tuesday fulfill that sentiment where we make the high or low of the week on Tuesday or Thursday, which is what we did. We made the low of the week on Friday, actually. We didn't make it on Thursday. So that makes sense in this case because Monday wasn't really a full trading day because it was President's Day, it was a holiday, and we didn't really have a lot of liquidity coming into the market. So that is why I believe Friday will move the way that it did. Next thing, I didn't think I fully talked about this, but if we see this high being taken, that is a sign of bearishness because it's what a market maker sell model looks like. You can also see we reversed off this order block, which was sitting right up here. I don't know how perfect that is, but that looks pretty damn close to filling it almost exactly. But we took this high and we purged it, created an SMT, which is what happens during a sell model. We can look at this high here. This was actually, I think I draw that earlier in the week, but we came lower. This is a reaccumulation right here. This is accumulation right here. Then we have manipulation up to these highs where we made a turtle soup on the higher time frame, and we made a liquidity sweep on the lower time frame, and then we start heading lower. Now, I didn't really see a good setup on Friday, and that's fine. It's not really my model to trade, because if you look, we sort of just slammed lower. We had a very short we had like an hour or 2 hours of just consolidating, and then we slam lower even more, and we close very close to the low of the week, which is not typical. And for that reason, I'm expecting price to significantly retrace up into the weekly range. So this is the 4-hour chart, and I want to see. Let's go to the weekly chart. We can just mark out this week's range just by going like this. So we could do 25% quadrants, which is what I have set up. We go to the hourly. We can draw this out. We could go back to, let's go to the 4-hour. So here, we see this is the 50%. We want to see price go above there, ideally, because we want to see an immediate rebalance, which would be another sign of bearishness. And ideally, we see that happen before we start purging any more liquidity to the downside. So ideally, we see price go up here and then start heading lower. Obviously, it's fine if we see some accumulation first. So we could see this and then see price go up. But we see that at this 50% level, we have this fair value gap. So this is really what we're going to be looking at. This bearish fair value gap. That's not a fair value gap here. So we see that. And let's mark out this level. This is going to be 50% last week's range. I'll just do 50% of last week. So this is very significant. I expect price to go there, and that's what I want to see. It would offer a good setup because we'd be in the premium of the week, especially if, right, we're going to open here likely. I doubt we're going to have too big of a new week opening gap, especially after seeing a move like this. There's a chance, obviously, we gap really low, and in that case, you would be looking to buy, rebalance, or sell a turtle soup higher. Or if we see price gap lower, you would look to sell once we hit that 50% of the new week opening gap. But other than that, I expect price will start going higher, which would be good because then we'd be above the weekly open, ideally on Tuesday or Wednesday. And then we'd see price start to go lower, and it would be a good area to sell because we'd be in the premium of last week's range, and we'd be above the weekly open. So that's what I hope to see happens next week. Other than that, I don't really have too much of a goal for where I expect price to go lower to. I just marked out these daily lows. I expect price to really start spooling next week to the downside because we've had all this accumulation. Now we started manipulating higher. We have an SMT at the highs right here. And that was after a long time of consolidating. And we made the SMT. We have a favorable short on NQ because NQ made the lower high. And we're now having a significant move lower. However, I don't want to be too sure on this. And the reason why is because we haven't broken structure on the daily chart. And we haven't closed below an old low. So that's why I wouldn't hate a gap lower, because a gap lower would ensure that we close below this daily sell side liquidity, which would ensure a daily market structure shift, which is very significant to see. And I do still see this in play down here where I marked a while ago, I think 2 weeks ago. I marked it as the 50% of our weekly range, which is still in play for me. I was a little impatient because I didn't see price purge the highs of this consolidation range before we started going lower, because there's always going to be differences. I like to think of it as two different there's a few different times of trading where you're going to have. One of them is going to be during consolidation periods, and that's usually at the beginning of the week, the beginning of the year, the beginning of anything, any significant time zone. You're gonna have accumulation or consolidation. Then you're also going to be trading at highs. All-time highs is a little bit different trading than trading when you're in a significant discount or a significant downside move. For example, here we see price moved really low, and you had to be trading very differently here than you would say when price broke these all-time highs here. Not very you don't have to trade super differently, but you definitely have to consider premiums and discounts in a different way, because at all-time highs you sort of have to ignore when price is at a premium or discount. However, at all-time highs you want to be using the standard deviations tool a lot more, because it'll help us determine where price is likely to start rebalancing. It'll just give us more framework to base our trades off of. So I have consolidation ranges. I have when prices at all-time highs. I think that's about it. So other than that, I see this as a really good spot to start shorting, especially because in this consolidation range, we are in a deep, or not deep, we're in a premium. So if we can go up to this 50% of last week's range, I think that's very favorable. I don't think we need to go here. I want to see this fair value gap on the 4-hour chart. I want to see the 50% taken. And if I want to see price just react, I just want to see price react strongly off this 50% range from last week. I don't need to see it though. I just want to see this fair value gap filled in any way. And if we have a bearish reaction to it, that's even better. That's a greater sign of being bearish for the upcoming week. However, it is ideal to see price go up. So that's basically my analysis for next week. We have no news on Monday or Tuesday, so probably not going to trade on Monday. Probably just going to take a break. So I will talk to you guys on Monday.